I get it. You're seeing a market that is just seeing some bullishness and bullishness and bullishness and bullishness and you're going, when the heck is this thing going to top? And we're going to get into that today as we get into some technical analysis with the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta, looking over at AMC and GME and popping over into some volatility and maybe talking about TLT. So we'll see what we get into for today. Going to do a lot of technical analysis here, but I just want you to note that finding a top is a very difficult thing to do, but you're going, are we going to top out now with these terrible weekly signals that we did see in the past? Let's see. Well, if we were planning on getting bearish, that's kind of a hard thing to do when you do notice a daily has just confirmed up. Now, I know this bar is red, but it is relatively positive. You're up 0.34%. You reacted down from a daily expected move, saw some consolidative downturn there, some selling from that upward move. Definitely a good thing. But do we have signals here that really say the market can tear down? Well, technically today, and if this would continue for one more day, maybe two, you would actually have a slight divergence here. But there is a chance that this could be an upward push that ends up being something over time. There's always a chance of that. So we need to pay attention to these shorter time frames in here to see if there's weakness. Therefore, we can know if we make this move, will it confirm down? And maybe we start to roll over weekly charts for an overall correction is still what we're thinking at this point. If things start to scale up, we're still going to treat, or scale down, I guess, technically, right? Sell off. We're going to treat it like it can be bad. So we need to pay attention to every day's daily expected moves. And that's what we have here for you today. Notice this 601.33 to the upside, 593.73 to the downside for the SPY. Just notice this first off. Where are these weekly and daily expected moves? Now they're outside the monthly. So the thing that we are looking for here is weakness outside of the monthly and maybe even outside of a weekly move. And now the daily is a good ticker to say, hey, we have a shot to make a move outside of that monthly range very, very soon, maybe even tomorrow, right? So the reason we pay attention to that is because, well, we land below this yellow line here 68% of the time. So the higher percentage, if you make a reversal signal here, is you're going to end in that zone. And we're in the last week here, so we have to be cautious. So the signal that we're looking for from the SPY to turn down is the 2 hour. Obviously, if the 2 hour turns down here, this would not be a good sign. This could be a liquidity grab in some way, and you might call this a double top with how steep this is on the MACD and how steep this is on the RSI. If I can zoom out on this, you'll see very steep down, very steep down. So we know now the 2 hour turning down is bad. But what do we look for and what do we talk about all the time in every aspect of our videos, the course, on Patreon, on everything? We always say, well, I can look for weakness inside that 2 hour. Am I seeing weakness in it right now? The 30-minute here, you're noticing that you do see this very awkward behavior here, honestly, because of the gap up today. And you're just noticing that you do see a divergence on the MACD, but it is not on the RSI at the same time. But what if we went and did that tomorrow? What if we see that happen over time over the next few days, and then we see something start to top out? Now, we would want these to form before. We can still pay attention if they're outside the weekly and we think they're going to produce a downturn. Then we could pay attention to December's monthly expected move. We're going to update those on Patreon on Sunday. But the main thing is this could update. So if we're going to see that quickly and see that weakness form, we see this turn up and turn down really quickly, give us that actual point that's on the MACD and RSI at the same time for the 30-minute, a lot can change here and we can see a lot of weakness really fast. Right? So we notice that 30-minute move higher would get people very bullish, but then it could be the exact opposite time. So do I believe that this is a top right now? No, I do not. I really do not see enough good signals, and we haven't had signals confirm to tell us that the SPY cannot head higher. And if this 30-minute just curls up into positive territory, you're going to see it take out these closes. You're going to most likely see a test of the weekly expected move. Now, the Qs, very interesting, still relatively controlled, right? Still relatively controlled. So we got to watch out for downside. But the first thing we're going to be watching tomorrow is, well, we're still holding above the 5. We haven't really seen a full breakout moment from the Qs. And my thing that's a little different with the Qs is if they can't make a new all-time high, right? If they can't make a new all-time high this week or maybe going into next week, then I'm really going to be convinced that this actually could be more than just a correction, or it could be a rather devious correction at that. So I would just pay attention to that, but I'm still leaning towards correction at this time. The 30-minute turning up would be a good sign. That is where we want to pay attention to 509.62. And if some bad things happen, we'll pay attention to 501.96 for the Qs. So what do you notice here? Well, we do see that divergence, but if I blow up the RSI real quick, you're going to notice that that is not really there. So that tells me we might need to make a divergence very quickly in the opposite direction, or very quickly to the upside, right? You turn up a little bit and turn right back down. Actually make it on both indicators at the same time. Now that would be lackluster. That's why I think if you're looking for these things, the SPY is the better one to follow at this point. But we saw the basing out, right? We talked about this 2 weeks ago, or I guess it was like 10 days ago. We're looking for this right here. And we just waited patiently, saw the setup, and go, go, go. So we were not surprised by this whatsoever. And you'll notice that on the MACD, we're actually able to go positive. That is a very good thing. This means that that can reach up. Maybe it reaches up towards a weekly expected move, or even the monthly expected move. We can get past this. Just a little nervous if we use that as liquidity to head down for the Qs, because the Qs at major tops, I'm talking major tops, you do see the Qs not able to go to a higher point, and that would make sense when we're looking at the daily scale. This means the Qs could fail to curl up this MACD over the next couple of days, while the SPY sets up that divergence. Maybe the Qs are a little lackluster. That would be a big problem. So it's good to pay attention to, after doing the Qs, obviously it is very good with these kind of wonky signals to pay attention to the stocks within them. And you'll notice something clear about Apple here. We kind of did this with the Qs, right? We did this with the Qs, and look at Apple. It is very similar. So one thing I would say if I was doing the Qs or looking into the Qs at all is I'm going to really pay attention to what Apple does. Now, Apple, we were pointing out all of the divergences here, but you guys know that I mentioned multiple times I was leaning towards a test of 233. We actually got that test on the gap up today. And we're trying to reach up there one more time. The 30-minute as of the end of the day was curled up on the MACD, so that should say more positivity is coming. Unless that rolls down exactly tomorrow, right? If that really rolls down in the morning, then you do have a bunch of weakness and momentum. That is why this move is struggling. The momentum has never really kicked in fully to the upside on bigger time frames, right? We're just making a bunch of weakness because this is not the strongest move. We're building in this, and eventually we're going to get a big move. So something I'd really watch out for is just if we experience something a little bit worse. That would be if the daily is able to rotate down for Apple, just because it is so close to the center line, so close to going negative. Before we get into Tesla, I'm noticing this E over here, and I just wanted to talk about that real quick, guys, because I noticed during earnings, everyone wants to know which way is this going? Which way is that going? What does the technicals look like? You guys, the reason that I tell you that earnings is a 50-50 flip is because I want you to treat this channel as a helpful one that you can learn from. And one of those is learning from my mistakes. I'm someone who's traded for a long time. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned from those, and then I've developed a strategy around it and really adding managing risk to really help. And I want to share that with people. That's what I do on YouTube. I want to share helpful information so people can read into how to actually read into these. They can see it in real time without even needing me around and have the power to make their decisions with their money. And one of those things is earnings is something that has ripped me apart a couple of times, but mainly in the stock Zillow. I played in earnings with Zillow. I thought I was hot stuff because I was doing really, really well trading, and I didn't really treat earnings with the respect that it deserved. And I lost a bunch of money on that trade, like a bunch of money, okay? For where I was at that time, it was a bunch of money. So learn from my mistakes. That is everything that is in anything that we put out on this channel, anything in the course. It is all to help you. It genuinely is there to just help you. That is why I don't add random stuff in my course that people will just like fill up to make the course longer to charge more money for it. No, everything in the course that you see, everything that you see on YouTube, I am physically and mentally studying myself and coming up with myself and doing everything so that I can be a successful trader. And I just want to share that with all of you guys. So sorry for that tangent. I just think that that's an important message to come around earnings and how to treat YouTube channels that you are watching. If they are telling you something that has beat them up, you probably want to understand what beat them up and why. So what we notice from Tesla is a daily pullback is likely here, right? It could be some kind of consolidation, it could be some kind of downturn, but a daily pullback is mainly what we see happening here. If this can turn down, it would just be a simple swing trade to go back to the upside. You do not see major signals that say that Tesla has to completely collapse here. I think that maybe they will tell you it's collapsing because Tesla moves like crazy, and you'll hear nobody's buying Tesla, but secretly the insiders are probably buying Tesla. Okay, because we do notice that the 2 hour did confirm this divergence. And we said, just watch out, right? We said this, we said, watch out if Tesla does turn down that 2 hour, it's not able to buy up pretty quickly, because if it starts to lose that 5, you can really start that downtrend. So as of tomorrow, you do have a double top completely confirmed for Tesla, even giving you a little divergence right in here on the 2 hour, on the 30 minute. We talked about these things over the weekend and they started to happen. And were you ready to react? That's the big thing. Were we ready to react? Were we looking for Tesla? Were we paying attention to these signals because they were pretty clear? That's what we need to work on, right? If that's something you need to work on, I get it. And we're going to work on it throughout this channel, right? Watching these videos. This is something that you need to make for yourself as a goal of, this is something I struggle with. This is something I want to get better at. Maybe I need to take a course. Maybe I need to come to the live video and ask some questions. And I think that's fantastic. But this means that that daily has a good shot to roll over. And that is the main thing with Tesla. You can see on the 30 minute, the only way that we're going to be back to bullish on this at all is if this 30 minute can curl up. And let's see, we've had one trap in this area, 2 traps in this area. You think I'm going to buy the 3rd? That would be shame on me. Now, a little bit different, but Amazon, remember, we were liking Amazon. I do like this look. It's just this was starting to scare me. The fact that we were getting tight and we could see a drop from that, but we noticed that we're able to remain positive. We never curl down on this 30 minutes, so positivity can be had. If the 30 minute rotates down, you see how you would lose all the moving averages and maybe even go negative, so you can test this low, go make a new one. That's what I'd be watching out for on the 30 minute, but the 2 hour here was able to confirm up. So right now, your slightly bigger time frame is telling you I'm taking back the 5 and I'm curled up. I'm not positive, but I am trying to bounce, which means since we are negative, we should look out for resistance before we're able to go positive. This area right here of about 205 would be nice to see some kind of dip down, and maybe we're able to see some structure for Amazon to go higher. A way to get a little bit more bullish on Amazon is if the daily is able to curl up into positive territory, because weirdly enough, Amazon, if people are telling you major top right now, you're just not seeing that for some stocks out there. You're seeing it for Nvidia, and that thing can tear down the market, but you're seeing it a little bit for a pullback for Tesla, but you're just not seeing these daily signals on Tesla on the daily side. You're not seeing those signals on the daily side for Amazon. So if we do fall from here, it's probably going to be something a little unexpected. And this is where we need to talk about Nvidia. And I really wanted to go over this with you guys because this is truly everything that we do on this channel. This is everything in the course is right here. And the course is 90% off. That's why I'm talking about it a little bit. I think it is very, very good for you. It's proven to be very good for a lot of people. And we do notice that this is giving daily divergence, right? So daily divergence, hey, we like to see some downside. Now, what were we paying attention to in these areas? Well, we were looking for a little 2 hour to turn down. And you notice that when we did reach up higher, yeah, we reached a higher point, but we crossed on the 2 hour MACD right by negative territory, right on this bar right here. So up towards 141.67. And that's the best part is we see this divergence, it played out. That's awesome. We went down to a weekly expected move, I believe, at this point. We went back in the monthly down to a weekly or a daily on Friday. I can't remember. But it overall was a great play. This play was a great play as well because you had the signals and the weekly ranges made it so easy for you. You see that this is up high like this, and then you see, okay, that's curling down into negative territory. This means that this most likely is going to continue to the downside. Take out this low, go make a new one. Where's it probably going to head to from this area? Well, it's probably going to head to a weekly expected move. Where's the weekly expected move? It's pretty much right where you're at right now. You just use the entire thing to help you completely control a trade, and you saw a nice, what is this, 142 down to 135, a nice little 6 to 7 point swing. That is awesome. A 6-point drop is fantastic for an option. You get down by a weekly and you go, hey, I'm good. If you want to, you can keep some, leave some runners. That's fine. But I'm just someone who likes to take profit at those weekly expected moves. So now going off of this for a technical analysis for tomorrow, what overall is something to think about at these weekly expected moves? Well, support, right? At 135, we have serious support in this area that we're at right now. And so if this 30-minute is really beat up, we can see some kind of bounce. Now, I just want you to notice you're starting to see some little upward moves for the RSI down here, right? Slightly upward. We can see that's starting to head up, but you're violating that at the end of the day. So let's pay attention if this actually confirms a 30-minute move up and then start to understand the MACD. Another thing that we discussed very thoroughly, because if you don't understand how to do the MACD, then divergence and all kinds of things related to trading are going to be very difficult for you, okay? So get understanding this, give yourself a Christmas present, right? And get to understanding the MACD, right? So the 30-minute, if this curls up, where's the positioning? It is very, very low on this MACD. So if it does move in the upward direction, we can see a bounce, but we are very likely to get rejected from a very obvious level. And I believe that very obvious level is what is this? Let's see, right here, 141.28. This level right here is going to be very important, because if we're able to take that back, Nvidia actually can go up and go make a new high. Right, so we're going to mark this off. I'm just going to put it as a little white line so we can see it there. We just noticed that if we can take that back, that would start to look pretty good, wouldn't it? We could start to get up to this level. We could start to make this a left shoulder, make this a head, make this a right shoulder, right? We could see a lot of good from that. But if we reject from it, what ends up happening here? Well, if we reject from it, you have the chance to start to take out this low, or maybe this was some kind of like just trap at this point and they don't even want price to get there. So if we do something like this, we curl up into positive territory and you see that, or we curl up and don't get into positive territory and you see that turn down, that's going to be a massive problem, because that means you're most likely starting a downward trend. Why would that be really, 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 really bad for Nvidia? Because if you're making a downtrend and you're curling over this weekly chart, which looks like this is a very massive problem. And this is where things can start to escalate. I still think this will be a correction, but right here you had a little bit of weakness and momentum on your RSI. Right here you have weakness, major weakness on your RSI, and weakness for sure on the daily chart, or on the weekly chart. And so if this weekly does cross down, but you have only a few days to save that thing, that's going to be a big problem. So what do I think? Well, if they don't want the market to tear down right now, or if no kind of black swan is going to happen, well, then I think Nvidia needs to bounce from this level right now, because if you start curling over on this, you start confirming things down again, this is going to be a big problem over time. AMD, I did notice that the daily was able to turn up today. That is a great sign. We have our zone, right? We pay attention to this zone for a key reason. We pay attention to when we break out and retest into it to see another move higher. We've paid attention to this zone for support. We've paid attention to this zone for accumulation and consolidation. And that is awesome, right? That is awesome, because we're in this zone right now and you just had a daily curl up. So if this wants to see a move, this is the time. And I'm telling you right now, AMD needs to see a good move to start going back to positive, because you're not going to touch all-time highs, because this is showing monthly divergence. You got to get rid of that to see some upside. Now, what can we pay attention to for the 2 hour tomorrow? Well, for tomorrow, I just want to see if that 2 hour is going to still rotate back down. Right, I want to see if I'm by a weekly expected move. I want to see if that rotates back down at any time, because that means bad things. But if we make some kind of signal, that could just be a trap to get people very bearish on the stock before all the rich people go long. We know how the system works, right? So we can pay attention to something early on tomorrow, which is going to be the 30-minute. Now, this is a great holding of price. Like, we could have easily flushed down deeper. You hold that price a little bit. If there's any kind of short selling problem going on in AMD because they're trying to force Nvidia to go to the upside, I don't know. But what we would pay attention to is if the 30-minute rotates down, we have a 5-day right next to a gap fill. And we have a 30-minute that's a little high up. So if that wants to cross down and curl back up into positive territory, you could see a retest of that and turn back into positive territory. Or this thing can start to take off right now and daily momentum could take over, because this guy hasn't crossed yet. Meta, great move at the end of the day. Fantastic move at the end of the day. We were really paying attention if the 2-hour could rotate down. Still want to keep that on our radar because we are not out of the woods yet. We're not positive, okay? So for the 30-minute, though, this is very, very good. We are able to make that double bottom, almost triple bottom, I guess, with these lows that we were talking about. We were saying, hey, the risk is this, but if the 30-minute can remain positive, we take back the 5, it might be a different story. So right now you are seeing positivity that can continue. I would just watch if the 2-hour rotates back down. That's where it could really beat you up a little bit. AMC and GME, fantastic moves. I know GME has earnings around the corner. We're still going to see what it looks like before. Just note, we'll talk about that when we get to GME. But AMC, very good here because the 30-minute did rotate down. So that does say, hey, we could pull back further. But you notice that strong green bar at the end of the day says, I'm going to whip this thing right back up. So that's awesome. That is good. What do we need to see something crazy? We got to get above and hold above 515 without fading it in any way. And then you need to see the 30-minute, the 2-hour, and that's positive. And you need to see the daily positive as well. And you have all of that going on here. So this is a great move. We'll see if this really heats up a little bit, and then we'll see what happens above 515 for AMC. GME, you're seeing a similar thing, but the daily really looks like it needs a pullback. But if this thing's going to squeeze, it's probably not going to pull back. We'll see what happens with this tomorrow. Right now, you have the daily positive and positive territory. One thing to mention, earnings. They know that this is here. So there is a high likelihood that they already have set up things to fight the stock with earnings. Now, there is a situation where that won't help them, and that is where GME produces the best news in the freaking world, and enough people buy it that they outweigh the short selling. That will be very difficult, so just keep it in mind that they could just fight the stock because they want to, and you don't necessarily have the greatest signals here. If this 2-hour rotates down and you lose that 5, 2-hour is saying I have triple divergence at that point. So if this rolls down tomorrow and then we have to see that whip back up with earnings, maybe earnings is just the best news ever and it just goes skyrocketing. That's fine. I'm going to keep my overall position in this for now, but I can see that there's 2-hour divergence, so I'm ready to react and maybe cut that position in half and just see what happens with earnings if this 2-hour just turns down into negative territory, right? Because that would be very bad. That tells you this signal, by the way. We talk about it a lot in the course, but this signal that you see on your MACD, on your RSI right now, the price action is going up and this is all coming down, right? It's negative divergence and it is bad. Now, we do notice the 30-minute had that same signal, so something we can pay attention to early on tomorrow is if the 30-minute just rotates down right away. If that rotates down right away, you start to lose the 5, this would be divergence at that point, and you can see this actually roll over 2-hour charts. So you do have major weakness here. I'm never hoping that that happens for GME, but you do have weakness in momentum. Just note, if this produces great news, all of that weakness and momentum can then flip completely into strength, and the big move you're about to see down could end up going that way. So just pay attention to it. The signals are good right now. 30-minute turned up, 2-hour turned up, daily turned up. Looks good for GME. 31.32 to see something crazy. Sorry, I popped over to look at Wolf because those weekly expected moves are great, and that's exactly where it is. So Wolf trying to see something crazy. This is one that I was pointing out last week, and I'm testing my short seller volume theory on, and so far it's proving to be right. That's a fantastic look. Check it out. Pretty cool. We can talk about it tomorrow. But the main thing I wanted to get into was volatility, the VIX. So something I want to see from the VIX right here. If this is going to be quick tomorrow, we just talked about it, maybe making that little 30-minute divergence on the SPY, maybe for the Qs, right away in the morning. If that's going to happen, we might see volatility actually drop and see the market opening at those higher levels and just see this turn right back around. This will be a look to pay attention to tomorrow. That would set up a little divergence for your MACD and your RSI all at the same time. So be aware of this because this is where you can get a little hint. If it doesn't happen, that's great. The things that are going on will continue. But then we can just look for, hey, is the 2-hour really able to curl up? Are we seeing any signals that say the 2-hour can curl up at a later point? Right now, we're just saying if that would come down a little bit on that 30-minute, this 2-hour says I can be a higher low, and that's going to be a big problem. We might see that correction very, very quickly in early December. So the main takeaway here is this a top? Well, I don't know if this right here is a top because I'm not seeing those signals. So I think if we make one more flash move up, that has potential to be a major top or just a top that gives some kind of corrective move to then go higher in the future, which is more what I'm leaning toward. But if this 2 hour does turn down right away, that won't be a good sign. And that's what we're paying attention to in the market. We were looking for something like this right here. We end up seeing that. We're getting the upward push, and now we're looking for that next step, which is a 2 hour divergence up here that curls down, and we're going to watch a 30-minute to see if we can get a hint. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have all the luck with your trades going forward, all the luck in the world, and I'm going to start wishing you a happy Thanksgiving right now because I'm very thankful for you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. I would hope that you would leave a like on the video so that we can maybe get to 10K by Christmas. But I'll have to chat with you guys later in the morning, all right? Peace out.